What's up, guys? Welcome back. My name is Jeff, I'm the owner of RDR Gear here in Salt Lake City, Utah. I got my good friend Chris from Odyssey training with me today. Today's a little bit of off-the-cuff topic. Recently, I saw a video on social media from an instructor who was talking about civilians or non-law enforcement, non-military personnel using retention holster, activity holsters like Safariland, RDS, ALS, etc., versus using a concealed carry holster. And the fact that if you were using a holster like this, quote, you were LARPing. I find that shit, 1, offensive, 2, it's stupid, 3, it's incorrect. So that's my viewpoint. Chris is going to take a little different road with you today.
Tell us how you really feel, man.
And Chris will help you guys as students, because him being the professional instructor, he's got a few different points on using an ALS holster for range training than I do. I have a few things just from over the years of using this product for different types of classes, different styles of classes. And Chris will kind of go through his point of it, and I'll get to my point of it. We'll do a little bit of shooting with these on. We'll switch out to our concealed carry rigs, and then we'll kind of go over that as well, and do maybe a comparison final between the two pieces of gear, right? What are your thoughts on why maybe having an active retention holster for, regardless of skill level, is a benefit versus maybe just showing up with a concealed carry class with your Glock 43 and
doing
2 days of class?
Because the premise is, we want to have the skills with the equipment that we're actually going to use for our shooting lifestyle or whatever you want to call it. So if you're a concealed carrier, you need to know how to draw with your concealed carry holster, and we get that. But there are reasons why people come to the range and come to my classes with an overt belt setup, with a duty holster and everything. One is because that's their actual shooting lifestyle. I got LE that come to my classes, armed security, National Guardsmen. I've got plenty of people who wear a gun in an overt capacity that come to my class, which is kind of centered around concealed carry. But for me as an instructor, I need one of these so that I can learn and teach people how to shoot out of one of these,
The topic this guy's talking about, I do give him one caveat, is I've been to classes where it's been, the class is EDC or intermediate handgun, and it doesn't specify a concealment or whatever case may be, and then the instructor shows up in a semi-battle rattle rig. But that instructor's background is also MIL SF style instruction and training, so everybody who's following that is more of an emulation of that instructor.
It's kind of what they know. That's what
because
they're familiar
they've
with.
watched this guy from day one come out with all this, like the multicam pants, or a particular style shirt, whatever. And now they've kind of just bought into that. This has to be it.
And we want to avoid doing that. One of the reasons that I recommend at least having one of these kinds of holsters and belt setup, even if you're a civilian, even if you don't have a need, quote unquote, for it, is you find there are certain interesting things that we do in training that actually lend themselves a little bit better to having an outside the waistband holster, maybe with retention, or maybe just an outside the waistband friction holster. When you're training outdoors in adverse weather conditions, you got a lot of rain gear, snow gear, all that can start to get, there are times where that can be a little bit less safe. There's a little bit more risk in holstering and unholstering. If you're new to that type of holster and you're wearing from concealment and stuff, trying to dig through a bunch of layers, that can, cold hands, numb fingers, you're kind of adding a little bit of percentage points to the risk factor on that one. So in that case, it might be safer for you to, hey, you know what, it's piss and rain. Let's put a outside the waistband holster on, wear our raincoat, and now we don't have to deal with
100%
digging through clothing.
And I think also too the fact that you've got guys out there who appendix carry all year long. You don't live where we live. Come out here in the middle of December and try to run appendix carry when we're here at the range and it's 9 degrees out here. You're not going to run your simple just Naga hoodie.
Maybe not as well, right? You're fighting on hard.
You're going to have these issues. So being able to maybe wear that hoodie, base layer, hoodie, jacket, and now you've got an outside the waistband Kydex holster, or maybe even running a belt rig that your longer parka style is covering, and you're just clearing from a duty holster, or you're clearing from whatever holster, right? But so
it's a little bit safer for training in the adverse weather conditions. I also find
if you're shooting pistol A full size 19 or 2011 for example, there is zero difference of me coming out stance, press, squeeze here versus my shield or my 43X. It's all relevant. It's the execution of task that earns the result. And people are like, oh, you've got to train your carry gun. No, you don't. You should be training on your own, and you should have that ownership. But if you're going to do a carbine maybe it's an intermediate course, you're doing carbine, pistol, and there's transitions involved.
Sure.
Having a holster that locks in and doesn't come out versus having a Kydex holster, because so understanding your gear, and if you're doing some movement or you're going to do some agility stuff or hard transition, positional work or improvised positional work, especially under vehicle with carbine pistol, I know there's a lot of dudes out there who like to do all their traditional vehicle stuff with a carbine and a Kydex holster. Make damn sure that Kydex holster has solid retention or you will lose that gun.
Yeah, and that's, and there's nothing saying you can't run both in one class. Like
100%. Oh, yeah, 100% swap.
Let's say you're doing a vehicle class or whatever, and hey, we're going to be a little bit more aggressive for this block of instruction. Maybe you put on a lockable holster, do the position work there, and then you go back to your concealed carry stuff. Sorry, hit my ring on your grill, man.
No, you're good.
So there's a balancing act, right? And I think that's the important part. Is a lot of people just so aggressive.
I'm just showing the fans at home that I covered up for you guys.
You did cover. Thank you for putting the Band-Aid on.
Yeah. I don't want you to like dry heave, blow chunks.
I didn't. It's a little weird, man.
So either way, I'm not rubbing it on you or whatever. I'm just saying.
So that's kind of my thinking on it. Is there's a balancing act. A lot of people like to get in these different camps in our world, and we certainly argue with each other far more than we argue with the people outside of the gun world.
No,
it seems.
100%. And that's why I wanted you to come out with this video, because this is not to attack the person who said it, but we both see people who just take stuff as gospel and they suck that up as a sponge, and that is misinformation that someone else put out there. And this is just basically to show you guys, like, what's your phrase? You show the right, or you always talk?
You got to know what right looks like.
Exactly.
Show people what right looks like.
And this is not saying it's right, but this is a right topic. The concept of this video is to show you two styles of holsters that all of you guys, like Chris mentioned, you should have an active retention holster. Have something. Whether if you can't afford a Safariland, I don't say use a Serpa, but there's the Omnivore that's out there, right?
That's my alternate that I've used for a while. I've had them for rental holsters in classes, and they do awesome for people who are brand new to the holster work. They've got some kind of weird gun and not the right, I'm like, hey man, let's run out of this. It's safe, it's controllable, it's reliable, and it's not as good as a Safariland, but is not a far second, I would say.
Yeah, and you guys out there too, if you don't know, I mean, I've kind of made myself a SME on Safariland products. We do the wraps or the mods. I probably clock 15, 20 hours a week just answering questions on people who are buying their first Safariland holster. So don't be afraid to DM, ask in the comments of the video, whatever. Reach out to me either way, because I either have the holster at my shop ready to go, or I've modified one, or I have a solution for the gun you have, or I have an answer for you, the fact that you weren't able to use the holster builder to find that particular holster, so I can give you some little guidance on where to go if you want to go the Safariland route. But as Chris mentioned, in your kit bag, your gear bag, you've got all these other widgets. Having a Safariland active retention holster, either this or the Blackhawk Omnivore, it's worth having one of those, or even now with the Alien gear, right? That's a great other option. Alien gear doesn't have as big a selection as Safariland and Blackhawk, but it's worth having one of those styles of holsters in your bag as you gain progression in your shooting skills and you advance in your classes, the different styles of classes. Now, not every class you take is going to be static on the line, on the whistle. There's going to be some movement, some transition. You're going to
hopefully you go to classes where you're starting to get.
We'll close it out. We'll get to the range. We'll load up some mags. We'll get some shooting done. Let's go. All right, guys. So we're going to shoot a little bit. The benefit of having Chris here and the instructor side of it is for you guys to kind of get some ideas of from the instructor to student, why the Safariland holster or an active retention holster of some type is going to be a benefit to you. So Chris can kind of give you his viewpoints of what he sees in classes and what you guys as students, whether it's his class or someone else's class, kind of can look for and avoid some of the pitfalls of maybe having clothing, etc. So Chris will go through some of that stuff for you guys.
Yeah. One of the reasons I like it is, for me in my profession, I have a need to know how to use this holster, even if I'm just concealed carrying in my daily life. So if you're a local instructor somewhere or a bigger instructor or whatever, at some point you are going to have a student that has a holster like this, and you have to have an answer for how to properly draw from it. How do you defeat the retention, all that kind of stuff. That's super important. So when we look at, for this one, this is the reason I chose, this is the 6360, is that right? 6360 is the level 3 version, so I've got the hood, and the ALS button, because I want to be able to teach through all of the different retention permutations that a local LE or armed security guy or whatever might have. So I need to be able to very quickly and very efficiently, as you can see, that was terrible, get the gun out, get it back in. I'm a little out of practice. Sorry.
So guys, also too, Chris is using an 1.5 inch belt, right?
True. Yeah.
The holsters aren't designed to run an 1.5 inch pant belt. It's either a 2 1/4 inch Sam Browne duty belt or a modified battle style belt 1 3/4.
Do you know anyone that makes like maybe like a belt width modification for a UBL?
I know a guy, yeah. So,
you know a guy?
But
you know a guy?
Even with the UBL mod on a 1.5 belt, it's height of holster, position, cant, and the weight. You're still going to have that flare. So if you're going to stick to a 1.5 belt forever, having a leg strap is going to be kind of your go-to to get that to do this, right?
Exactly.
Because once you clear, you know, but it's since the holster is moving with you on the draw, and now you're pushing that the SLS forward, you're now moving. It's doing this.
So if you can't see, I've got a little bit of width between my belt loops and the size of belt that I'm wearing. So there's a little bit of slop in the UBL belt width and my 1.5 inch Aries Gear Ranger. So ideally, if I can draw it without moving it, everything comes out smoothly. But if I end up torquing that in the wrong direction or whatever, then end up kind of dicking it up like I did last time. But things should come out smoothly, and we should be able to do what we need to do. So for me, I just have a need to be able to use one of these for students and stuff like that. But also heavy winter clothing, hoodies, kind of like we were talking about, where rather than having to really fish through multiple layers, if you're wearing jackets and all that kind of stuff, having something like this where if we're teaching shooting fundamentals, like if we're teaching shooting performance, once the gun's in my hand, holster setup's irrelevant. Right? Now we're talking about recoil control. Now we're talking about all that other kind of stuff. So this is just a storage device, you know, unless we're specifically talking about the draw strap.
Rude.
Threat.
See, I'm too high. Bitch. Did you hear all that? Rude. All right, we're back. So we swapped out from the overt rigs. Now we have range rigs. Chris runs appendix carry. I sometimes run appendix carry. And I'll tell you a little bit, for me, I run appendix carry when I'm not with my nieces. If I'm out and about, I always run instead of waistband strong side because I'm carrying one of them wherever I go. So for me, if I carry one of them, I carry left side. That way I can still get to gun right. I think appendix carry has its purpose and place, but unlike what Instagram says, it's not the only place to carry a gun. It is 100% reactionary. I piss a lot of people off that because if I go to punch you in the face, no matter how fast your sub-second draw is, it's still reactionary draw. Where a concealed carry on a strong side instead of waistband, you can get that gun out if you see some shit going crazy. It's a little more difficult to get into here and do this. Right?
Advantages and disadvantages to both, you know, and so, you can go way into the weeds.
So just so you guys watching this, if you're new, I run across people all the time. I want to get appendix carry. I ask them, what are you carrying now? Well, I'm not. Why appendix carry? I didn't even start that conversation. I just give them what they want. But do your due diligence. Find out if appendix carry is right for you or if strong side instead of waistband is better for you. Do your own homework on both because there are advantages, disadvantages to running both of them. So
my idea on it is I am lovingly ambivalent.
Yes.
It's not like I don't care. It's like do one of them, but whichever one you want to do is cool.
If you're like, I have a buddy of mine who's retired Secret Service. He calls it the surfer holster. If you are unemployed and wear t-shirts and shorts every day, run appendix carry. But if you have any other requirements of going to church, going to school, going to dinner with your wife, whatever, girlfriend, whatnot, boyfriend, either way, right? You can do either or. But being able to wear a suit coat, a sport coat, whatever case may be, have that position, you know, because...
Well, whichever one you carry from, I think, you know, we're kind of talking about that you should train from that position. So, you know,
exactly.
Like we see us on the range, I've got my concealed carry rig, he's got his concealed carry rig, and if we're training in that overt capacity, we'll also make sure I mean, for me, I'll also make sure that I at least get some rounds out for the range day from my concealment rig.
100%.
Only do either one.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. All right. So, what are the benefits you think by running a Kydex holster versus the overt holster if you're going to come to a class, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, having your concealed carry holster when you come to class is awesome because you're getting the repetitions at how you'll actually be. It's that much closer to your reality, right? Obviously, there's a lot of artificiality in range training and stuff like that, but you're getting closer to how you're actually going to do stuff. A lot of this can be done in dry fire and all that, but a lot of people still use classes as that kind of test bed for new concealed carry positions, new holsters, you know, all that kind of stuff. So bringing it allows you to kind of get a lot of good repetitions, a lot of round count and live fire, all that kind of stuff out of your holster in a short period of time.
Cool. All right. One thing you guys will see today too, we're both not carrying micro guns, right? Me being the holster side of the conversation is I meet so many people who bought a pistol based on size and thinking that the size of the pistol would help in concealed carry. That is 100% false. That is not the case. The smaller the gun, the harder it is to conceal because less of the pistol itself, the muzzle and barrel, is inside the pants.
True.
So you have so if you're going to a small micro pistol, it's almost 100% inside the waistband, strong side. If you're you'd be surprised how easy it is to carry a 17, a full-size M&P, 1911 Glock full-size handgun, appendix carry, because you have majority of the pistol below the pant line. So when the belt pins that pistol, it cannot do this. You're not pushing the muzzle outward and having that print. So it's something to consider.
As an example, I carry a Glock 19 firearm in a Glock 17 length holster, so that I've got more of the holster under the belt, torquing it upwards, keeping it upright.
Exactly.
And I mean, this cover garment is, you know, this isn't a cover garment I wear day to day. It's a thermal layer for the range. But even with a full size 19, it keeps it nice and tight.
And you can do that with 19s, Glocks, M&Ps, whatever. But when you do like Shield 43Xs, you can do a 48 holster, but it's limited in that crossover. So just keep that in mind. So, all right, so let's work a little bit. Anything we got to do for we're doing from holster, so let's go ahead and run it a few there, and we'll swap it out.
Sounds like a plan.
So for me, it's inside the waistband, right side. So I'm gonna have to make sure that cover garment clears, gun comes out, and being able to get those rounds out, right? And again, it's simply just being able to clear that cover garment again and holster. So again, that's just an option for you guys to be able to see the difference between a duty style rig and what benefits you might need for that compared to the whole point of this is to just for you guys at home to know that there are options out there for you guys to have as far as equipment and gear goes. If you don't have one, buy the other. Instead of buying, you know, whatever you might get, having a overt belt system and a Safariland style or active retention holster for those classes you might scale into is a great thing to have in the kit bag. With the world it is today, you never know what you might need, right? So again,
agreed.
That's the two options there. Chris, thanks for coming by.
Thank you.
You guys, thanks for watching. We post 2 or 3 videos every week on gear we manufacture, gear we review, comments and topics we talk about. Until then, be well, take care.